What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time on this Saturday afternoon, evening. I am Britt Devine, joined by my former MLB co-host. Now we have transitioned to the National Basketball Association. Mr. Agents of Fandom, TJ is here. What's going on, TJ?
Doing very well. Looking forward to diving into this Saturday night slate. And then after that, the rest of my night is going to be hanging out with my wife, editing some Agents of Fandom articles, and prepping my lineups for NFL tomorrow. How you doing this weekend?
I'm doing good. I'm pretty much in the same boat. I'm not doing anything for Agents of Fandom, but I got to put the baby to bed, and then
You
I
can
got to
if you
start.
want.
Then I got to start getting my football lineups ready, and probably bet another 50 or so player props because that's where the money is, at least for me so far. Actually, money's everywhere. I've been having a pretty good year and everything. But all of that put aside, we're here to talk basketball tonight. I wanted to start on the injury report. I saw Meansy. This is my first time I've been doing the Crunch Time or basically any basketball show for RotoGrinders. And I always want to get out there the injury news. And for basketball, I know we're a couple nights into the season. There's not really anything in the wings that I'm really waiting on. We've got Jamal Murray's questionable. I'm expecting him to play after he didn't play last night. He's going to play in the home opener tonight. You got anything you're really waiting on for injury news that's expected? There is always that unexpected in the NBA. But for right now, TJ, I think it's pretty set in stone at the moment.
So the biggest thing that I'm still waiting on is that Q tag for Dylan Brooks. Because if he's out, that makes Jaw a stronger play, Bane a stronger play, but both because of usage, and then it gives Conchar more minutes, Aldama probably a few more minutes, and so I'm still waiting on that one. And then the other big one for me is not so much like kind of injury news, but it's just the Pacers starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
We like Jalen Smith is quote unquote available to play. But if he's not in the starting lineup, I don't know how much he's going to be getting in there. And whoever starts between Goga or Isaiah Jackson, I think will be somewhat interesting, especially if it's Isaiah Jackson for me.
Yeah, I think I'm expecting. I didn't mention Brooks. I sort of expect him to play. Everything's sort of pointing that way, but you do never know in the NBA. I guess I'm just leaning him to play, and that Indiana Pacers waiting on the starting lineup for that one. And then they do the whole hey, we'll change up everything at halftime too. The tank is on for every team early in the NBA, trying to switch things up to get as many lottery balls as possible. So I wanted to jump into that, at least in the injury news. You never know what's going to happen in NBA, but I think it looks like a relatively quiet night as of right now. All right, let's jump into FanDuel. I'm going to handle cash. I'll ask TJ some questions about cash. TJ is going to handle some of the tournament stuff today. I have put a couple of people in the player pool for FanDuel that I think are must-haves. And TJ, I guess I'll get your thoughts for these guys on FanDuel. I got Drew Holiday, who's just a little bit too cheap with no Chris Middleton in there. I know it's against Houston. There's some concern about a blowout. He didn't really shoot too well in the last game where he's sort of disappointed. Where he go 2 for 15? You tack on 5 extra, field goals. That's 10 extra points. All of a sudden, the fantasy line starts to look a little better. I doubt he's going to go 2 for 15 against Houston. And then a couple of big men. You've got Zubac, who looks like he's going to be playing some big minutes and putting up some monster performance in this first game here. He's going up against Sacramento. Don't expect 17 rebounds, for him to go 6 for 6 again and put up 47 FanDuel points, but he looks good. And then you've got Sengun, who just looks like a point per minute monster right now. Possibly going to be put into the starting lineup, possibly going to be playing some more minutes tonight. Another monster game for him. He's just a little bit too cheap. Do you have any problems with any of those 3 players being sort of my core for the night?
So you personally, absolutely not. I think if we're kind of given something for the people in general, I don't think Zubac is somebody we want to have as a must play. I don't think he's a bad play if he ends up fitting in your lineup, but I don't think he's a must play in this spot because of how many other good players there are at that position. And I think it's a absolute must to have Giannis in cash as well. He projects 8 points higher than anybody else on the slates, according to our RG projections. He's up 11 points higher than Luka Doncic is. And so he's also going to be probably above 50% owned. And so Giannis is going to be just a must-have in cash games today over on FanDuel.
Yeah, I'll put him in Giannis. I went back and looked last season in sort of the games where the Bucks absolutely blow teams out. It's because Giannis gets like 33 points, 17 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal or something like that. And you can go look through all the game logs of last year, and you'll see a lot of that happening when the Bucks have these big blowout victories. That could possibly happen tonight. So I have no problem playing Giannis as well. He's on my FanDuel Cash team as well. To round out some of the other players you might want to be looking at on FanDuel at the point guard position, you're probably looking sort of, if you're playing Drew, right, he's just a little bit too cheap. I don't mind Donovan Mitchell. I think Mitchell is in a great spot tonight. Maybe TJ will hit on him a little bit more from the tournament perspective. I'm sort of leaning Drew with one of Jalen Green or Reggie Jackson. I think Reggie Jackson without Kawhi in there tonight. His price point looks pretty good at just $5K on FanDuel. If you want maybe a little bit more firepower, you can get up to Jalen Green at $6,200. But those are a couple of the people I'm looking at least at the point guard position. Moving over to shooting guard, you've got Paul George. He looks pretty juicy at Sacramento. No Kawhi. Didn't really have the great first game out against the Lakers. Still put up 34. I'm expecting him to bounce back with a little bit bigger of a fantasy performance in this game. Then you're sort of looking, again, if you didn't want George, if for some reason you can't get him, I think Donovan Mitchell is a fine consolation prize as well. After that, you're probably looking in this Franz Wagner, Norman Powell, that type tier for your next play. Take your pick of those, whichever price tag works for you. I think Powell's great if you need a little bit cheaper of a play. I think Wagner his minutes are a little bit more secure and has a little bit more fantasy firepower as well. TJ mentioned Giannis, absolutely playing Giannis on FanDuel today. DraftKings, it's a little more questionable with how good Luka's game plays on DraftKings. We'll talk about that in a little bit. TJ, there's like a couple other players. If you have money, I like the mid tier. I like a guy like Norman Powell. I think Sadiq Bey, more of a tournament play, but that dude can chuck threes. He can get super hot. He's gotten hot against Indiana a couple of times last year. If he gets 4 or 5 3-pointers, I think he's a great tournament play. I don't really like him for cash, but he's interesting. Then you've got the Chetty Osman sort of tier down here at 4K, going to be put into the starting lineup. Going up against Chicago, never a great point per dollar player, or great fantasy player, I should say, but at the 4K, he sort of lets you get Giannis, get you some of the other superstars into your lineup. So I like him down there at that 4K price tag. You've also got Michael Porter. I found him to be a little more useful at the power forward position, just to save a couple of bucks there. You can put Giannis at power forward, but I think he just plays a little bit better at small forward. You got to get Sengun in there today. He's got the rainbow from all of our experts here today. Absolutely a must play at 5K. I've got him locked in as a core play, at least on FanDuel. Mix him in with Michael Porter. Porter shot pretty hot to start the season. I think he's gone something like 7 for 14 from 3. So at some point that will fall off a little bit, but he's a pretty efficient shooter. And even going up against OKC, playing a bunch of minutes, even if he doesn't shoot 50% from 3, if he shoots 35 or 40% from 3, he's looking pretty good along with a bunch of peripherals. Zubac, to me, I like Zubac maybe a little bit more than TJ does, but he just fit in salary-wise, especially if we're wanting to play Giannis. And TJ, I guess I'll throw it to you. If you weren't looking at Zubac, who else were you looking at the center position? Of course, you've got Sengun. There's a couple of other guys. You can throw in a Bobby Portis. You can throw in a Bam, a Jarrett Allen. I did bet a Jarrett Allen double-double today. So he is someone I like. I'm going to like him down low a little bit against Chicago. Who else would you be looking at in the center position?
So I think in cash games on FanDuel today, you have to play Giannis, and then the next thing you want to be doing is either playing Jokic or Doncic. Like, it's a 2 pay up day for me on FanDuel because we absolutely have the value for it. The weird chalk to me today is Chetty Osman. We got a lot of value in good spots stepping into starting lineups or extra minutes, and so I would way rather go there than a guy like Chetty today. But yeah, I think like the answer to Jalen Green or Reggie Jackson is both. And then I think your final guard spot is Luka. And then you can mix and match with your favorite value options from there. I'm looking at guys like people from this Houston game. Probably going to depend on the starting lineup for me, but Kenyon Martin is my favorite one there. Maybe Terry Eason if he happens to get into the starting lineup. But Jalen Green and Şengün are going to be my two priorities there for cash and for tournaments. And then even somebody like Noah Vonleh or a Santi Aldama. Those are both players that I'm fine with personally, totally okay with playing in cash games as well today. And they're going to be features in my tournament lineups. The biggest way I'm looking to differentiate today in tournaments as opposed to cash is, I wrote this up in the expert survey today. For me, this is a perfect slate to just go big for game stacks. And so the last few slates we've had, it's either been a 2-game slate or an 11 or a 12-game slate. And so in a 2-game slate, yeah, you have no choice but to game stack. In a 12-game slate, you don't really want to do much more than a 2-1 or max a 3-1 because, or 2-2, something like that, because it's a 12-game slate. You want to be getting all the best plays. This one, I think it's the perfect size. We got 8 games. None of them have all that high of totals except for 2 of them or 3 of them. And so I'm planning on just going heavy game stacks of Milwaukee and Houston, hoping Houston keeps it close. I want to play Giannis and Drew. So does everybody. And so I'm going to be running it back with not just Şengün and Green, but also Kevin Porter Jr., also Kenyon Martin, also Terry Eason. I'll include Bobby Portis and Grayson Allen in my lineups too. And I'm just going to go big there. The other game I'm really looking to do that with is the Clippers and Sacramento. A lot of people are going to the Clippers today, as they should. They're good plays. Zubac, George, Powell, Jackson, Morris. I think you can play 4 of them in a lineup today, and I think you want to have probably at least 2 of them in each of your lineups today, unless you're just full fading that game and doing something else for some reason, doing a game stack of something else. And so the guys, I think Norman Powell would probably be and Reggie Jackson would probably be my 2 priorities for cash. But for tournaments, I love all 5 of those guys for the Clippers, and I'm going to be trying to full stack both of those games.
Who do you like from the Kings in that one? You've obviously got Sabonis and Fox would be the main. They are spendy, though, and if you're playing George, the rest of the Clippers can probably provide some salary relief. Is it just Fox and Sabonis, or is there any ancillary piece you might look for some tournament upside?
So the only ones I'll prioritize are Fox and Sabonis. I think I'll prioritize Fox in tournaments just because I think our ownership percentages are just a little wonky right now. If we keep refreshing, it might go back into adjust, but they're probably getting fiddled with as we speak for some finalizations. But Fox, without a doubt, will be lower owned than Sabonis will. But I actually don't think we're going to end up getting that 32% for Sabonis either. So I like playing both of them with 4 Clippers in a lineup. I think that's an interesting way to go about things. And then I'm not targeting anyone else, but like Harrison Barnes or Kevin Huerter, if they landed in my lineup as a last piece as I'm stacking that game, I would be okay with it. But if I don't already have 4 Clippers, I would just probably rather do that with Norman Powell or Marcus Morris.
All right. Do you have any FanDuel specific tournament plays, maybe based off a price or something like that over there that's standing out? We're going to talk DraftKings in just a second for everybody, but any specific FanDuel play that you're looking at a little bit more over there today?
For less a specific player and more so a type of build. So for FanDuel, I think you're doing one of 2 things today. You're getting minimum 2 stars in your lineup: Giannis, Jokic, Doncic. If you go down to somebody like George, then to me you're getting 3. You're looking at Sabonis in there as well. You're looking at a tournament shot on Ja Morant or Donovan Mitchell. You had mentioned Pascal Siakam is somebody I don't hate in tournament. Somebody like that, De'Aaron Fox. You're looking at least 3 or 4 on FanDuel because I think it's totally okay to take some shots on some cheapies, guys who aren't picking up so much ownership because we're seeing a lot of condensed ownership in the front court, like these Boston guys, Grant Williams, Noah Vonleh, these Houston guys, Kenyon Martin, and the the small forward whose name I keep forgetting, stuff like that. To me, it's heavy stars and scrubs, or it's full game stacks. Like not just 2 1s, but I'm talking 3 2s, 3 3s, 4 3s, stuff like that.
All right, you mentioned the Pacers starting lineup. I want to read that off to everybody. They are starting Naismith and Isaiah Jackson over Taylor and Duarte. With that news, do you want to prioritize any of the Indiana Pacers based off that news? How would you approach that? That is something you were waiting for.
Isaiah Jackson, I think, becomes somewhat of a priority for me now. I don't think he is for cash games just because we don't really ever know what his deal is going to be. Like, we don't know if he's going to play 6 minutes and then get a bunch of fouls and not come back in, or maybe Goga starts the second half and he doesn't play very much in the second half. So what that does, you know what? The tough thing is that I just said I wouldn't really be that interested in him in cash games. And I think this is tough for me. That does really shake things up, because to me that puts him in the same bucket as Vonleh, Aldama, Martin, and Jackson. Those are 4 guys that I all really like, and now I'm not exactly sure how I want to be prioritizing them. I know I prioritize Şengün more than them, but I don't know how I'm going to be prioritizing that group.
Yeah, Jackson at 4,200 on Fanduel, and he's reasonably priced on DraftKings too. It's going to be an interesting late addition. The casual player might not go there, where all the algorithms and 150 maxers will, of course, get their exposure, but and some of the smaller buy-in stuff, Jackson makes an interesting pivot, in my opinion. All right, I'm going to jump over to DraftKings.
Gotta say quick too, hit the like button, because we got 200 people watching us right now. We're bringing it right up until lock. We came 10 minutes early onto the show to make sure we got time saved for questions for all of you at the end of here. So free show courtesy of our sponsor Fanduel, and it's they're only going to keep sponsoring us if it does well. So keep hitting that like button for the free content.
Yeah, and if you are a sportsbook user, you can get a free bet over on Fanduel. I think it is a bet $5 and you get 150 in free bets and a free 3-month pass to NBA League Pass. I already took my NBA League Pass. Thank you, FanDuel, for that one. So make sure all of you that have access to the FanDuel Sportsbook go opt into that, and the little promos. You can get free 3 months of League Pass on FanDuel. Again, much appreciated to them for sponsoring the show and letting me get some League Pass. Absolutely like that. All right, I'm going to DraftKings.
I take back what I said earlier. I think Isaiah Jackson is absolutely a priority for cash games.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to rearrange maybe some lineups to get him in. We'll see, because then you can get like a Luka in there along with Giannis pretty easily, and I think that might be something I'm gonna strive for in just a few seconds. All right, let's go to DraftKings. I got Şengün, of course. He's 5,400. Can I interest you in Zubac on DraftKings at 5,800 now? TJ, he's a little bit cheaper. He fits into the lineups a little bit better over there. You do have to mess with Jackson. How much is Jackson on DraftKings? He's 4,000, so he enters the rotation a little bit here. So do you want the more sure thing in Zubac at 58 from a cash perspective, or would you lean on an Isaiah Jackson at 4K now to possibly get 2 actual superstars under your lineup?
So I think you have to. I would go Isaiah Jackson at the power forward position. And then is Giannis small forward eligible, or no? But you got the forward anyway. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would go Isaiah Jackson at the power forward, Şengün at the center position, and then yes, I don't think I have absolutely no problem with Zubac in the utility spots over there. But I think the way I'd prioritize my builds would be both Giannis and Luka, and then Isaiah Jackson. Would be my next cheapie that I put in, followed by Şengün as well.
Yeah, I like those. You can get Norman Powell. So let me just sort of go through what I was thinking about on over on DraftKings from the point guard position. You've got actually, I'll go salary wise. So again, you can get to Luka or Giannis, because Luka, we've got Giannis for 60 fantasy points on DraftKings. We've got Luka for 56 fantasy points. Luka's game plays a little bit over there. I like Luka a little bit. Is it still Giannis over Luka on DraftKings for you today?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So if you want to play Giannis, You can do that. You can also probably even try to squeeze both of them in there if you play guys like you play Chetty, you play Powell, you play Jackson, you play some of those guys. You might be able to squeeze in both of them. You can, if you're spending up, of course, it's Luka at the point guard position. If you're spending down a little bit, right, Drew Holiday, he was much cheaper on FanDuel, so I don't think he's as much in play on DraftKings, especially if you're trying to go true stars and scrubsy today. There are a couple of mid-tier guys. You've got Reggie Jackson at 5,700. You've got Kevin Porter at 7,200. He's putting up some big games. I think he's slightly interesting as well. Those are probably the, Reggie Jackson, Porter. You can get up to Cade Cunningham, but I think I might just play Porter for a little bit cheaper. That's probably where I'm looking at the point guard position. Going over to shooting guard, you've got from that Houston game, I know TJ is looking to stack up for tournaments. Jalen Green is 6,200. He's basically, if you look at the fantasy points, Van Vliet's 8,300, Jalen Green 6,200, and Green's actually projected more by our team over there. I think Green looks pretty nice. Hero, would you rather play Hero or Green for cash, TJ? Because I know Hero was popping in the projections a little earlier. Hero to me is more of a tournament play, and I'd probably stick more with Green from the cash game perspective.
Yeah, it's Green for me, just due to strictly based on the total in that game. Harrow's going to be stuck with either OG or Scotty Barnes throughout the entirety of that game. I think this could end up being a bit of a tough one for him.
Yeah, you got Marcus Smart too, if you needed a little bit of savings, but I think I would probably rather just play Green or even Hero for a little bit more. The small forward position, you're looking at guys, Chetty's 4K. Now, if you're trying to do that star scrubs with both Luka and Giannis, you might need a guy like Chetty in there. If you're looking just a little bit higher, you've got Powell and Michael Porter Jr. I mentioned both of those on FanDuel. They're looking like pretty reasonable plays. That's pretty much it. I'm not really looking to spend at the power or at the small forward position on DraftKings today. Looks like a mid-tier to save option for me. Power forward, of course, you've got Giannis. If you're going that route, I think that's fine. If you're not, Michael Porter fits in pretty nicely. Chetty also available at power forward. You could play him. Those are the options I'm looking at. And at center, you've got Sengun. Oh, and now you've got Isaiah Jackson too. And at 4K, you're probably going to want to try to work him into your cash game somehow on DraftKings. And then at center, you've got Sengun, you've got Zubac. Both of those guys just a little bit too cheap for their expected performances tonight. I don't think you're going to be rostering Giannis at the center position tonight. I think he's best used as a power forward. From tournaments, you could probably get a little weird, but definitely Zubac and Sengun are the priorities for me. So for DraftKings, anyone standing out to you on DraftKings, maybe that we didn't talk about so much on FanDuel? For those who are just joining the show, TJ was talking quite a bit, at least from a tournament perspective, of game stacking the Clippers and Sacramento game stacking the Milwaukee-Houston game. Anything different for you on DraftKings?
Similar, but it's just not quite as easy to get as many guys in the same game in the same lineup over there for me, and still kind of enjoy my lineup. But with the value of Isaiah Jackson popping up with so much positional eligibility, it does kind of allow for it. The one game stack I do think, they work here too. It's just on FanDuel, that's where I'm playing, and it's so specifically the slate is so different to the other ones for me for that. So that's why I'm going to be looking to do heavy on that. But DraftKings, now that we have this Isaiah Jackson news, to me opens up even more of a stars and scrubs approach, just like FanDuel does. You got Sengun in the cheap, and Sengun and Zubac in the cheap to mid-ish tier. But other than that, I think you can go real cheap to guys like Jackson, the Houston guys, like I mentioned on FanDuel, Kenyon Martin, as well as on DraftKings. I think somebody like Terry Taylor is even somewhat interesting if you need the salary at that position. So Giannis and Doncic are my two priority spend ups. Sengun is the next priority for there over me, and then from there, I'm just looking to fill my lineups with cheap Clippers, Rockets, and Pacers.
Let's see here. I'm just looking at questions. If you guys want to start throwing questions for your premium members, we'll get those first into the NBA Crunch Time Discord. We'll be taking those in just a few minutes. If there aren't any curated in there, I will head over to the YouTubes and check all of those out over there. I know YouTube, I saw a bunch of questions, but hoping a couple get into the NBA crunch time. Let's see here. NBA DFS wanted to know Michael Porter Jr. or Wagner for FanDuel cash. I would play Michael Porter Jr. if I was choosing between those two. What say you, TJ?
So I would go MPJ personally, but with Jamal Murray coming back and with Jalen Suggs out of this one, I do think Wagner is interesting as well. But for me, it would be Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, it's a closer than I think it normally would be, but I do like MPJ quite a bit tonight. Let's see here if I can find some questions from Crunch Time, or not from Crunch Time, from the YouTube. Let's see here. ME wants to know Lowry or Reggie Jackson as a tournament play today. So, TJ, why don't you give your thoughts on both of those players? Lowry, someone he had a good game last time out, but someone I very rarely look to, and a guy like Reggie Jackson tonight without Kawhi, I would be much more apt to play him in a tournament than Lowry.
Yeah, not just without Kawhi, but without John Wall. Last game of the slate in a much bigger total. For me, that one is Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, that's definitely for me. Beaner in the Discord wanted to know any interest in the Orlando players. So I have bet. Let's see here. Let me bring up all the how is it? Powell, Banchero. I've been betting his points and rebounds overs. So if you're on the FanDuel Sportsbook and you're looking for something, you can get like plus odds, plus 150 to 200, I think, on him to score 20 points. He's done it in 2 games to start the season. Why can't he do it again? I know it's against Boston. They're a little bit better of a defensive team, but that you get a little bit boost over the line, which I think is 16.5. So I certainly don't mind playing him. Just his price tag and DFS has come up so much. I've just attacked him a little bit more from the sportsbook perspective. We mentioned Wagner just a little bit here. I think he's pretty interesting on both sites. His salary is certainly in a playable range. He's probably the one I'm most interested in. It looks like projected ownership on these guys is close to nothing tonight, TJ.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind that one bit. It's not my favorite game to be targeting on the slate. Boston's a really good defensive team. Having said that, even if Boston does kind of pull away in this one, I don't think Banchero and Wagner are going to be kind of the guys that happen to get pulled. There's no Al Horford in this one, so Wendell Carter Jr. and Banchero should be able to go to work a little bit. They probably won't be quite as strong defensively inside as they usually are, but it's still a low total game. They got 103 total in this one. It's not a priority target for me. If I was running 150, I'd be making a rule that I'd want to have like maximum one Magic player, but then I would be getting to each of the big guys, Banchero and Carter, each of the guards, a decent amount of time as well.
All right, so we've got a question from Marcus Howard. This is from YouTube. Second power forward spot. He is looking between Marcus Morris, Isaiah Jackson, or Aldama. I've been betting the Aldama rebounds. He's been doing pretty good in that. I think he's at 6.5 tonight. That is another bet you can. I've certainly placed that. If you can find it at 6.5, certainly like the over on that for him for rebounds. But who do you got between those three? Again, Marcus Morris, Isaiah Jackson, or Aldama?
That is going to be Isaiah Jackson for me by a decently wide margin.
All right, yeah, I'm redoing my cash game on my other screen. If I've got it in for DraftKings already, I'm trying to get Jackson onto my FanDuel team right now as we speak. Let's see a couple other ones. Cheyenne wanted to know Chetty or Covington on a FanDuel tournament tonight.
I guess it's Covington, but I don't like either of them.
Yeah, Chetty's going to have reasonable ownership. I don't know if I'd really like Covington. I would play Chetty over Covington. He's got George and Jackson already, if it makes any difference.
I would still honestly do Covington. I think the fact that if he doesn't have Powell or Morris, that actually correlates pretty darn well with Reggie Jackson and Paul George, because I think Morris and Powell would be the two that Covington would be stealing minutes from.
All right. Well, the questions roll in. I want to remind everybody, you can check out, right, I mentioned a lot of sports bets. I didn't put any of them in our scores and odds app today been busy prepping for the show, doing a bunch of other stuff. Didn't have time to write up anything for scores and odds. I know Grant put in a bunch in. There's a couple other ones in there. So scores and odds, if you ever just want to know, hey, which sportsbook has the best line for, if I want to bet over points, rebounds, assists for Giannis tonight. I know TJ likes him quite a bit tonight. Which sportsbook has the best line on it? You can check scores and odds on it for free right from your phone in about 2 seconds to see which sportsbook has the best line on it. Again, doesn't cost you anything. And then if you wanted to get the premium picks, there is a subservice for that. The college football team's been doing great. The NFL team's been doing great. I threw my hat into the ring for NBA last night. I hit my first scores and odds post on that. So there's a lot. There's always stuff to bet. There's hockey, just nonstop stuff to throw at it on scores and odds. And I'm pretty sure worth even if you're betting like $20 to $30 or $50 a bet, the scores and odds subscription will pay for itself multiple times if you subscribe to that with the team we have going on over there. All you need is like one notorious PGA winner to pay for your entire year of scores and odds. What are you looking at, TJ?
I need to make just a quick amendment to something I said earlier. I don't think Terry Taylor is as reasonable of a play anymore. I didn't realize he wasn't starting. I thought he was still starting and Jackson was starting for Smith, but Jackson is actually starting for Taylor and Smith is starting as well. So Ixnay on the Terry Taylor.
All right, I'm just moving my FanDuel team all around. Oh, I think I just got a nice little substitution. Let's see, in 5,400. Oh, I need to come up with 100 magical dollars to get the nut FanDuel team. I'll have to figure that out in just a second. All right.
Oh yeah, I had that one an hour ago.
Back to questions. Achilles wants to know DraftKings cash. Cade Cunningham and Reggie Jackson or Halliburton and Smart. So we didn't really talk too much about Halliburton from a cash game perspective, but he's steady Eddie all the time. I could certainly play that one. So Halliburton and Smart or Cade and Reggie Jackson. I think I'd lean Halliburton and Smart on that one.
Cade and Reggie Jackson, just based on I don't think you can play Smart and cash today, and I think Reggie Jackson is closer to a must.
And Achilles want to know, are Reggie Jackson and Powell really that much of a priority tonight? So, like, if you're trying on DraftKings to play the Giannis and Luka cash game, I don't even know if you can get, like, you're going to need players just a little bit cheaper than both of them to round it out. Maybe you can get one of them. Are these guys high on your priority list? I'm looking at, I'm messing around with Reggie Jackson and Norman Powell, either the last man in or the last man out, or the first man out of my cash game lineups right now. What's your take on those two?
Reggie Jackson is more of a priority for me than Norman Powell. We're projecting him for a couple more minutes. And the reason for that is because he's really the only true point guard left on this roster. Like, Norman Powell is in a good spot. If he fits my lineup, I'm comfortable and happy playing him. But Reggie Jackson is more of a priority for me just based on Luke Kennard, Brandon Boston, Nicholas Batum, Terrence Mann, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris. Like, any of those guys could be the wing that goes off alongside Paul George. But Reggie Jackson could still be the one getting 10 assists because of it.
Mm-hmm. KCP and cash. So KCP was like a fringe guy earlier. And I think with, like, I know it's a different position, but guys like Isaiah Jackson and a couple other ones have just pushed KCP. I'm not really looking at him right now. I didn't hate it maybe about an hour and a half ago. What's your overall thoughts on KCP? Probably, I don't know, what do we got? 8 or 9 lineup spots. He might be like the 16th man on my cash game priority list or something like that right now. So not someone I'm actively looking at the moment.
Cash or 100, I don't think he'd even be in my. No, he would be in my pool just because of how cheap he is, but I wouldn't be looking to get him in cash. No.
Yeah, I know earlier he was in an optimal, but currently I would not be looking at him. Let's see here. Beaner want to know Porter Jr. or Sadiq Bey for the last spot. Beaner, is that in a tournament or a cash game? Cash game. Oh, that's a tournament. So where do you stand on that? I lean heavily Sadiq Bey on that one from an ownership, and he's got some big upside.
Just got to get in quick for 4 minutes before lock, and the tweet just came in for all the weird Chetty Osman chalk that I don't understand. He's not starting. It's Isaac Okoro.
All right, so we're going to get, let's see, Chetty wasn't on my team anyway over there, and I had already booted him out of my DraftKings lineup. So if you were looking at him, try to get him out of the lineup right now. Let's see here. FanDuel single entry, Luka and Norman Powell, or SGA and Hero?
Luka and Powell.
Yeah, I like Luka and Powell on that one as well. Let's see here. Going to go back to the YouTube.
Let's get us over 50 likes here on YouTube. We still got 200 people watching. We're at 46 likes. Make sure you pop us up over 50 there. We've been giving you lots of good plays. Hopefully you won't be scrambling right now to get Osman out of your lineups, because we've been telling you don't put Osman in your lineups. So hopefully that'll be helping out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Chetty out of my rankings. I guess I don't know. I guess the rankings are pretty useless at this point in time to try to change them. But I guess people looking at the rankings, hopefully they've already done that. Emmy wanted to know from YouTube, Porter Jr. or LeVert from a FanDuel tournament perspective?
MPJ.
I see you just responded to that one as well. Let's see. I think we've got most of the questions tonight. From a sports betting perspective, I do, if you're looking for a couple of bets, I have bet just like straight bets on teams. I took Dallas and the spread tonight. I like backing Luka at home. I think their team is a little bit better than last year right now. So I have no problem, even against Memphis, against Ja and all of them. I did bet Dallas, and who else did I bet? I like Detroit to win tonight. So I have bet Detroit money line, and I think the spread was either 1 or 1.5. So if you were looking for a couple of bets over on FanDuel, you can go. Those are two that I have put in tonight. As far as prop bets,
I want to get in. I changed my mind. I like LeVert better than PJ today. So you still got a minute and a half. Quickly get that
go.
Sub in if you want. Karis LeVert, I like more than Michael Porter Jr. Kind of for cash and tournaments, actually.
All right. I'm just trying to see if anything else new came in. No extra questions. So a couple, I'm just trying to think. Props. I took Paulo, 20 plus points on FanDuel. You only got like a minute to get that one. I've got Jarrett Allen for a double-double on Cleveland. I like how he matches up against the Bulls personally tonight. Let's see. I'm just trying to think for a couple of other games. I did bet the over points, rebounds, and assists on Luka from the Dallas game. I really like Luka tonight. And I think De'Aaron Fox points, rebounds, assists. I have bet the over on that one as well. As far as props go, if you were looking anything to add on to your DFS slate tonight, we're about to lock. So lock is going to be the Boston and Orlando game and the Detroit and Indiana game. So there's a lot of juicy games to be had after that. If any of you have questions for those, we'll stick around for a couple of minutes and try to answer those either in the Discord or on YouTube.
Hot take for today is that at bare minimum, 5 players from one game will be in the winning lineup.
Yeah. So someone want to know, why did I pull Chetty is not in the starting lineup? I thought he was going to. His minutes will decrease a little bit not being in the starting lineup, Cheyenne. So I would not. Would certainly not be a cash game priority for me anymore, not in the starting lineup. Let's see. Anything else scrolling through here? I see a couple people are thanking us for the show. Again, if you haven't clicked the like button, please click that on the way out. We will take a couple of questions if there are any. I don't see any. I guess, TJ, well, let's talk about this. The start of the NBA season. There hasn't been too many games here. What's been your biggest surprise so far to start the season?
Biggest surprise from a on the court standpoint has been Utah. They've been playing weirdly good basketball. Lauri Markkanen is looking like a star over there. And the weird thing to me is they're doing it with like barely playing Colin Sexton any minutes, who I thought was going to be playing heavy minutes over there. Mm-hmm. The biggest takeaway I've had early in NBA season from a DFS standpoint is just the importance of fine-tuning my process. I kind of legitimately just forgot that my NBA process is totally different than all the other sports. NFL, totally different. MLB, I cannot look at anything baseball for the whole day and put together a great MLB lineup 15 minutes before the slate locks. Mm-hmm. But you can't do that in basketball. Basketball is an all-day, all-night sport. It's a full-time job if you want to play it successfully. And so I really had to remind myself, like, no, when you wake up in the morning, even if you're not building lineups, you wake up in the morning, and as soon as you're awake, whether you had your coffee or whatever else you got to do, that's when you check injury news. You can monitor that throughout the day, so that even if you're not actively making lineups, I'm able to think about who the players I like in the back of my head. And when those in-out situations happen, I can look at the RG what ifs to start my research. And I already know when that injury news occurs, what swaps I'm wanting to make, who I like, what changes I want to make, so that 5-10 minutes before lock, or maybe even after lock, when those inevitable the news happens that we either weren't expecting or were expecting, whatever it is, we don't have to scramble, and we're ready to just make those changes. And so that, to me, has been the biggest takeaway, is basketball is a totally different beast than football and baseball, and you need to match your process to the sport.
Yeah, great advice from TJ there. I think that's going to wrap it up. I don't see any extra strategy questions in YouTube. I don't see any in the Discord. I want to thank everybody for watching the show today. Much appreciated. Click the like button on your way out. Thanks to Fanduel for sponsoring the show. TJ, enjoy your Agents of Fandom for the rest of the night. Good luck in NFL tomorrow as well, my friend. And to everyone else out there, if you are watching any of the shows here on RotoGrinders for NFL tomorrow, there is a whole laundry list of them. So make sure to tune in tomorrow morning. And other than that, have a nice night, everybody. For TJ, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, and we out ya.